To the world, Pierce Brosnan is James Bond. He is the man who never loses his cool. But at 72 years old, the actor admits he lives in a state of constant, quiet terror. He holds his wife Keely's hand everywhere they go. He defends her fiercely against anyone who criticizes her appearance. Why is he so protective? It isn't just love. It is trauma. Pierce recently confessed a heartbreaking reason behind his devotion. I can't do it again. He isn't talking about marriage. He is talking about surviving a funeral. This is the tragic, true story of the man who is terrified of the dark. The public attack and the private fear. To understand the fear that grips Pierce Brosnan today, we must first look at the battles he fights in the public eye. For the last decade, his wife, Keely Shaye Smith, has been the target of a relentless, cruel campaign of online bullying. When photos surface of the couple walking on a beach in Hawaii, the comments are often vicious. People mock her weight. They mock her age. They ask why James Bond, a man who could have any supermodel in the world, is with a woman who doesn't fit the Hollywood size zero standard. There is a specific incident that Pierce has alluded to, a dinner party with friends in Hollywood. During the meal, the conversation turned to appearances. One of the guests, a surgeon, reportedly looked at Keely and offered to perform weight loss surgery on her. He framed it as a favor. The room went silent. It was a moment of casual cruelty that defines the industry they live in. Most actors would have laughed it off to keep the peace. But Pierce Brosnan didn't laugh. He attacked back. He reportedly stood up and silenced the room. He told them, "I love every curve of her body. She is the most beautiful woman in my eyes. And also because she is the mother of my 5 children." He drew a line in the sand. He made it clear that an attack on her was an attack on him. But insiders know that his reaction isn't just about chivalry. It isn't just about being a good husband. It is about panic. When Pierce looks at Keely, he doesn't see her size. He sees his lifeline. He sees the only thing standing between him and the abyss of total, crushing loneliness. Every time someone attacks her, or every time she has a minor health scare, a cough, a checkup, a moment of fatigue, it triggers a deep, buried trauma in Pierce's soul. It brings back the smell of the hospital room, that sharp scent of antiseptic and lilies. It brings back the sound of the heart monitor flatlining, a sound that has echoed in his nightmares for 30 years. He protects Keely with such ferocity because he knows exactly what it feels like to lose the love of your life. He knows that money, fame, and good looks cannot stop death. He knows that tragedy doesn't care if you are James Bond. He is a man suffering from emotional PTSD. He wakes up in the middle of the night, reaching out to touch her arm, checking to make sure she is still warm, still breathing. He holds her hand at dinner not just to be romantic, but to anchor himself to the earth. If he lets go, he fears he might float away into the darkness again. To understand this terror, we have to wind the clock back 40 years. We have to go back to the time before Keely. We have to go back to the first time his heart was shattered. The day the music stopped. The year was 1980. Pierce Brosnan was not yet a superstar. He was a struggling Irish actor with a charming smile, empty pockets, and a dream. Then he met Cassandra Harris. She was an Australian actress, a former Bond girl who had appeared in For Your Eyes Only. She was blonde, vivacious, and wild. She was older than him. She was wiser than him. And she had 2 children from a previous marriage. Pierce fell for her the moment he saw her. He said she looked like a light bulb in a dark room. She had a laugh that could fill a theater. They married in 1980. Pierce didn't just marry her. He married her family. He adopted her 2 children, Charlotte and Christopher, and raised them as his own. Later, they had a son together, Sean. For 11 years, they were the golden couple. They were inseparable. Cassandra was the one who pushed him to go to Hollywood. She was the one who told him, "You should be James Bond." She built his confidence when he had none. She built his career brick by brick. They moved to Los Angeles. They bought a house. They were living the dream that every actor chases. Pierce thought he had made it. He thought the struggle was over. But in 1987, while Pierce was filming in India, the nightmare began. Cassandra started feeling tired. Her stomach was swollen. They thought it was nothing. Maybe stress. Maybe a parasite from the travel. When the diagnosis came, it was a death sentence written in Latin: ovarian cancer. It was the same disease that had killed her mother, the genetic curse of her family. For the next 4 years, Pierce Brosnan stopped living his life and started fighting for hers. He wasn't James Bond then. He was a nurse. He learned how to administer chemotherapy. He learned how to clean wounds. He learned how to navigate the terrifying bureaucracy of hospitals. He spent millions on treatments. He flew her to specialists all over the world. He prayed to a God he wasn't sure he believed in, begging for a bargain, begging to take her place. He described those years as living in a boxing ring. You get hit, you fall down. You get up, you get hit again. Cassandra fought with the ferocity of a lioness. She went through 8 surgeries. 8 times she went under the knife, hoping to cut the monster out. She underwent chemotherapy that ravaged her body, taking her hair, her weight, and her energy, but she never lost her spirit. Pierce remembers her making jokes in the hospital room, trying to make him feel better, hiding her pain so he wouldn't break. But love, no matter how strong, cannot cure cancer. December 28, 1991, the day the music stopped. Pierce was by her bedside at the Kenneth Norris Jr. Cancer Hospital in Los Angeles. She was 43 years old. The room was quiet. The machines were humming. He held her hand as her breathing slowed. He whispered to her that she could go, that he would take care of the children. He promised her that they would be okay, even though he didn't believe it himself. When she took her final breath, Pierce said it felt like the oxygen was sucked out of the room. The world turned gray. He lay beside her body for hours, unable to let go, trying to memorize the feeling of her hand in his. He later said, "There's an incredible cruelty in it all, losing a person you shared everything with. This is the first time in my life I've ever experienced bereavement, and it's overwhelming." At 38 years old, Pierce Brosnan was a widower. He was a single father to 3 grieving children, and he was entirely, utterly alone in a city that celebrates youth and life, not death and grief. A single father in the dark. The years following Cassandra's death were the dark ages of Pierce Brosnan's life. On the surface, he was achieving everything he ever wanted. The irony was cruel. In 1994, he was finally cast as James Bond in GoldenEye. He became the most famous man on the planet. He wore the tuxedo. He drove the Aston Martin. He kissed the girls. He was the epitome of cool, the ultimate fantasy for men and women alike. But it was a performance. When the director yelled cut, the cool secret agent disappeared and the grieving husband returned. He would go back to his trailer, remove the tuxedo, and cry. He described himself as a man without a skin. Every emotion felt too raw. The lights were too bright. The laughter of the crew felt like an insult to his grief. He struggled to function. He had to raise 3 children who had just watched their mother wither away. Charlotte and Christopher, who had already lost their biological father, were now orphans in spirit. Sean was just a little boy asking where Mommy was. Pierce had to be the mother and the father. He cooked the meals. He did the school runs. He sat with them while they had nightmares. He tried to fill the silence at the dinner table with conversation, but the empty chair was always there, screaming. And at night, he drank. He admitted to drinking heavily during those years, trying to numb the silence of the big, empty house in Malibu. The wine helped him sleep, but it didn't help him heal. He dated briefly, but every woman he met was compared Cassandra, and every woman fell short. He would look at a date across the table and feel guilty for being alive. He felt guilty for being successful. He felt like he was cheating on a ghost. He told a friend, "I don't think I can ever be happy again. I don't think I have it in me." The part of me that knew joy died with her. He accepted his fate. He would be the tragic, handsome widower for the rest of his life. He would focus on work and his kids, and he would simply endure until his time came. He had locked his heart in a steel box and thrown away the key. But he didn't know that miles away, in a beach bar in Mexico, destiny was waiting to pick the lock. The Angel in Mexico. 1994. Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. Pierce was at a party. He was there physically, but mentally he was checked out. He was sitting in the corner, nursing a drink, looking at the floor, wishing he was back in his hotel room. Then a woman walked in, Keely Shaye Smith. She wasn't an actress. She wasn't a supermodel looking for a role. She wasn't part of the Hollywood game. She was a journalist. She was an environmental activist. She was real. She had curves. She had a smile that reached her eyes, and she had a presence that commanded the room. She saw the sad man in the corner. She didn't see James Bond. She saw pain. She walked over and started a conversation. Not about movies, not about fame, about the ocean, about books, about the stars. Pierce looked up, and for the first time in 3 years, he saw color. He later said, "I found a great woman in Keely Shaye. Now if I search 1,000,000 times over, would I find one as good?" Keely didn't try to fix him. She didn't try to replace Cassandra. She didn't ask him to stop grieving. She simply sat with him in the dark until he was ready to see the light. Their first date was simple. They sat under the stars and talked until 3 a.m. Pierce cried. He told her everything about Cassandra. He told her about the cancer, the death, the fear. He laid his broken heart on the table. Most women would have run away from a man with that much baggage. They would have wanted a man who was whole. Keely listened. She held his hand. She accepted his ghosts. She told him it was okay to be sad. She became his North Star. She helped him heal his relationship with his children. She brought laughter back into the house. She filled the fridge with food and the rooms with flowers. They married together, Dylan in Paris. Pierce thought the curse was broken. He thought he had paid his dues to the universe. He had suffered enough, and now he was being rewarded with a peaceful second act. He built a life in Kauai, Hawaii, far away from Hollywood. He painted. He gardened. He loved Keely with a desperate, grateful intensity. He finally felt safe. But the Brosnan curse wasn't done with him. Just as he started to relax, just as the nightmares began to fade, the monster returned. And it came for the one person he had sworn to protect. The curse returns. In 2013, the phone rang. It was his daughter, Charlotte. Charlotte was 41 years old, almost the same age her mother was when she died. She was a mother herself now, with 2 young children. She had been feeling unwell. She went to the doctor, and the words were the same. The nightmare was identical. It was a replay of the worst movie Pierce had ever seen, ovarian cancer. The same genetic mutation that killed her mother, Cassandra, and her grandmother was now killing her. For Pierce, this was a psychological nuclear bomb. He was being forced to watch the same tragedy twice. He had to watch his vibrant, beautiful daughter, the girl he raised, the girl who had her mother's eyes and her mother's laugh, wither away just like her mother did. He had to sit in the same hospital waiting rooms. He had to smell the same antiseptic. He had to hear the same doctors give the same hopeless updates. He prayed. He bargained. Take me? He surely thought, I've lived. Let her live. Take me instead. But cancer doesn't bargain. It doesn't care about fairness. On June 28, 2013, Charlotte died. She left behind a husband and 2 children who would now grow up without a mother, just as she had. Pierce held her hand as she went, just as he had held her mother's hand 22 years earlier. The trauma of that moment changed him forever. It solidified a dark belief in his mind. Happiness is fragile. Love is temporary. Loss is inevitable. He fell into a deep depression. I don't look at the cup as half full. Believe me, he said in an interview after her death. The dark, melancholic Irish black dog sits beside me from time to time. He realized that he could lose anyone at any time. No one was safe, and his eyes turned to Keely. Keely was the only one left. She was the only wall standing between him and total destruction. If he lost her, he knew he wouldn't survive it. He knew he wouldn't have the strength to rebuild a third time. This is where the terror comes from. His love for Keely isn't just romance. It is survival. He holds on to her because he feels the ground slipping away beneath his feet every single day. Living on borrowed time. This brings us back to today, to the comments about Keely's weight, to the trolls, to the criticism. When people make fun of Keely's appearance, They don't understand what Pierce sees. They see a body type. He sees a savior. He doesn't see a number on a scale. He doesn't see a dress size. He sees the woman who saved his life. He sees the mother of his children. He sees the only person who knows his pain and still loves him. He sees a miracle walking. When he attacks the trolls, he is fighting back against a world that tries to devalue her. He is saying, "You look at the surface, I look at the soul." He treats every day with Keely as if it were a stolen treasure. They live quietly in Kauai, Hawaii. Their routine is simple. They wake up. They have coffee on the porch. They watch the waves. They paint together in his studio. He constantly posts photos of her on Instagram, captioning them, "My girl, my love." It's not for show. It's a form of prayer. It's his way of saying, "Thank you for still being here." Insiders say that Pierce gets anxious when they are apart. He calls her multiple times a day. He refuses roles that take him away from home for too long. He turns down blockbusters to stay in Hawaii. He is acutely aware of his own age, 72. He knows the clock is ticking. He knows that statistically, one of them will have to say goodbye to the other eventually. And that thought terrifies him more than any movie villain ever could. "I can't do it again," he reportedly told a close friend. "I can't bury another piece of my heart. If she goes, I go." This is a definition of terror of loss. It isn't a weakness. It is the scar tissue of a man who has loved deeply and lost greatly. He protects Keely because she is the only thing that makes the world make sense. She is his gravity. The man who survived. Pierce Brosnan is a legend of cinema. He will always be Bond. But his greatest role has nothing to do with tuxedos or guns. His greatest role is a survivor. He survived the death of his first wife. He survived the death of his daughter. He survived the loneliness of single fatherhood. And he found the courage to love again. That is the bravest thing a human being can do, to have your heart broken into a million pieces, and then to gather those pieces up and give them to someone else, knowing it could happen all over again. That is true heroism. So, when you see photos of Pierce and Keely walking on the beach, and you see him holding her hand a little too tight, don't judge him. Understand him. He is holding on to the only reality he has. He is holding on to the woman who taught him that life is worth living, even after the music stops. He has proven that while tragedy can shape you, it doesn't have to define you. Love is the only cure for the Brosnan curse. And as long as Keely is by his side, Pierce Brosnan is the richest man in the world. What do you think? Is Pierce Brosnan the last of the true gentlemen? And do you admire his defense of his wife against the Hollywood beauty standards? Let us know in the comments below. This is The Seventh Lens. We celebrate the love that survives the fire. Thank you for watching.